Okay, in this final video of our series on intentional communities, we're going to be answering questions folks put to us in the comments section.
We actually had more comments than questions. There were some great comments from people who are living in intentional community, as well as from people who are interested in the idea. And then, of course, there was the odd critique, including one from a guy who said it was like watching Bob Ross on Thorazine.
Thorazine. I had to look both those things up, also Bob Ross. Okay then, first question is, I love the possibilities of my individual life. Will I lose it in following Jesus and joining an intentional community? It's a good question, and the answer is yes. You give up quite a few possibilities by following Jesus and being part of a community. I think it's important to be clear about this. When you live in community, you have to lose the idea that your own wants and wishes are what's most important, and that's actually the thing that makes community possible.
Yeah, if everyone put their own wants first and foremost, then the whole thing would fall apart. The way it's put in the Gospel of Matthew makes this very clear. If you want to save your own life, you will lose it, but if you lose your life for my sake, then you will find it. So, not to be harsh about this, but if you love the possibilities of your individual life, you should probably not try living in community. By the way, Rich, what stands out to you as something you had to lose when you joined the Bruderhof?
Hard to say because it's so long ago, but well, there was this one guy who was in my just part of the discernment group, and I was considering membership, and he told me one of the things he really loved doing was riding wooden roller coasters, like the original roller coasters, and he used to travel all over the country doing this, and he was finding that a very hard thing to give up, which kind of blew my mind. But anyway, he didn't end up joining, so.
Wow, he must still be out there riding the rails.
Probably is.
Why do the women all look the same, and what's with the head covering? This question does get a little old after a while. Why is it that these women allow themselves to be controlled by patriarchal rules and traditions? Yeah, come on, down with the patriarchy.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, just a word of advice to the questioner. It's never a good idea to tell a group of women they all look the same. But the head covering is because the Apostle Paul, who I believe had a deep respect for women, encouraged women to cover their heads when they pray. And it's honestly that simple. And women who join the Bruderhof all do so voluntarily and are not controlled by anyone. I know that's hard for some people to believe, but you're just going to have to take it from me.
How does one join an intentional community such as the Bruderhof? Well, first you'll want to get in touch somehow and arrange a visit. I can't speak for all intentional communities out there, but for the Bruderhof, folks generally start with a day visit or an overnight just to experience what it's like. Then you'd probably arrange for a longer visit, 2 weeks to a month. If everything was going well, then you'd come to stay. At this point, there would be no commitment other than agreeing to respect the spirit and the order of the community. And finally, if you really felt this was the place for you, you'd be accepted into membership. That about sums it up, right?
Pretty much. The important thing is to take it slow and really test out your decision over time. Next question. You guys run various businesses for profit. What do you need the money for? Can't you be self-sustaining and gather and make everything you need, like the Amish?
It would be nice. I always wanted to be like Sam Gribley in My Side of the Mountain. Acorn pancakes, stalking deer in the woods, catching fish by hand, so forth, right?
You wouldn't last a week. But to answer the question, being self-sustaining would be pretty much all-consuming, and we wouldn't have time and resources to reach out beyond our communities. The businesses we run give us the opportunity to manufacture quality products that affect people's lives in a positive way, and also to generate income that we put to use beyond the boundaries of our community. For example, I've been deployed with the organization Save the Children, doing relief work after a natural disaster. And that work was made possible in part from donations the Bruderhof made.
Here's another question. Has the Bruderhof ever had to fight legally for its right to exist? Yes, a bunch of times, and mostly unsuccessfully. Once was in Germany in the mid-1930s when the Nazis were starting to get pushy. Since the Bruderhof had folks who were of Jewish descent, and also because none of the members agreed to join up with the war effort or the military, they had to leave or go to a concentration camp. So they went to England, but because they were all German, everyone there thought they were Nazis, so they had to leave again. But I would say since being in the US, we've mostly been able to exist, and we feel very much at home here. Belinda, do you have a last question?
Well, I did just want to respond to 2 comments where people were annoyed at some things I said earlier in the series. So one was, no need to diss communes, right? And the other, are greasy hair and beards a bad thing? So I totally don't want to diss communes, and I'm sorry if it sounded like I did, because actually I live on what you might call a commune. But my reaction was just to certain negative connotations that word has. Secondly, greasy hair and beards are totally fine with me. Just probably keep your distance from me if that's your personal preference. I was camping last weekend, and trust me, I didn't even want to be around myself by the end. Just wanted to clear up both of those things.
It's totally clear now. Well, that's it for this series. We'll be back next week with something completely different, so make sure to subscribe to the channel.
And ring the bell to be notified next time we upload.